Get Up Mornings, I'm Erica Campbell, and now I have the pleasure of welcoming the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, to the Get Up Church. She's also my sorority sister. Good morning, Vice President Harris.
Good morning, Sora Campbell. It is good to be with you, and to all your listeners, I say good morning.
We are excited to have you, and we are ready to jump right in. Okay. In the news, there's another mass shooting in our country over the weekend in Texas. Can you tell us about the need for gun reform in our country and what this administration is doing about it?
Well, first, and it goes without saying, we all pray for those families and all of the people impacted. I think it's so important to remember that when we are looking at gun violence, be it against an individual or a mass shooting, there are a lot of people who suffer in addition to the person who actually whose body was actually impacted. Yes. And it really does result in years of trauma that we need to make sure is diagnosed and treated. So when I think about the victims, if you will, and the survivors of these shootings, it is the individuals, it is their families, and it is the community as a whole. And for that reason, we need to understand this is a national crisis, and we need to have solutions that, yes, are about treating people's needs in terms of their emotional and psychological needs, but we need to have smart gun safety laws.
Yes.
And here is the bottom line. Assault weapons were designed to kill a lot of people quickly. Yes. There is no place for them on the streets of a civil society. And, I support the Second Amendment, and I support the need to have an assault weapons ban. I support the need to say it is reasonable to have universal background checks, because what are they about? It's simply saying, hey, before somebody can buy a lethal weapon, you might want to know if they've been found by a court to be a danger to themselves or others. Absolutely. You might want to know if they have shown a propensity for violence before you let them buy a gun. That's just reasonable. So we need Congress to have the courage to act, because ultimately we know that the way that we can address some of these issues is through federal legislation, but that means members of Congress need to have the courage to do the right thing and say, we're not going to accept a false choice about you're either in support of the Second Amendment or you want to have reasonable gun safety laws. We can do both.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's switch gears and talk about health care. I understand that you are passionate about Black maternal health. Tell us what you're doing to advocate for Black women and health care.
So this has been one of what I would consider to be the major accomplishments of our administration. I've been working on this issue for years, even when I was in the United States Senate, which is to lift up the need to take seriously the crisis around Black maternal mortality. And it is a crisis. You look at the fact that for any so-called developed country, we have the highest rates of maternal mortality, and in particular for Black women. Black women are 3 times more likely to die in connection with childbirth than other women. And by the way, it has nothing to do with her educational level or her economic status. It literally has to do with the fact that when a Black woman walks into a clinic or an emergency room or a doctor's office, she is not taken as seriously. And so to address this issue, we have to address a number of factors that includes the systemic bias where healthcare professionals look at a Black woman and don't take her seriously. So when I was in the Senate, part of the work that I did is to work with actually members of the Congressional Black Caucus, of which I was a member, to put in place laws that say, let's deal with training healthcare professionals to recognize the bias that they're bringing and to deal with that in a way that they take seriously Black women. Part of what I've been doing is also saying, let's lift up the importance of doulas. Doulas come from the community. They understand the importance of giving women dignity. And here's the bottom line also, Erica. Pregnancy and childbirth should be a joyful experience for a woman. And she should not be stripped of that ability to be taken seriously and to have her needs addressed so that during the course of her pregnancy and during the course of giving birth to that baby, she can fully enjoy the importance and the significance of that process and that moment. And that really has everything to do with the work that I've done in the past and continue to do to lift this up. And I'm proud that we've made progress. by giving attention to this issue and giving dignity to all of those involved.
It's Get Up Mornings, y'all. I'm Erica Campbell, and my special guest today is Vice President Kamala Harris. Thank you so much for being with us today, Madam Vice President. Earlier this hour, you talked about the work that you're doing on Black maternal health, and we'd love to know more about some of the other accomplishments of the Biden-Harris administration.
Well, one of the areas has been to deal with the issue of medical debt. Okay, so what is that? It's probably self-explanatory. So many people in our country are in debt because of hospital bills, because of doctor's bills, because of the amount of money they pay for prescription out of pocket, right?
Yes.
And so one of the things we know is that you look at an issue like diabetes. Well, Black Americans are 60% more likely to have diabetes, right? Mm-hmm. And too many of our seniors in particular have been complaining and demanding to say, look, we need more fairness in the system. We shouldn't have to choose between putting food on the table and in our fridge or paying our rent or being able to buy our insulin. So we, for the first time, because of our administration, have capped the cost of insulin to $35 a month for seniors. Wow. And this is going to have a huge impact on our seniors and their ability to live with dignity. Right? Mm-hmm. Especially in their senior years. The work that we are doing is to say, again, on medical debt, too many of our seniors, because of the various health issues they have, are paying so much money that they shouldn't have to pay. So we have now capped the cost of prescription medication at $2,000 a year for our seniors, meaning our seniors will not have to come out of pocket for more than $2,000 for a whole year for the prescriptions that they need. So these are some of the examples. And by the way, Black seniors are twice as likely to not fill their prescriptions because of this issue. And now because of what we've done to cap it at $2,000 a year, we believe this is going to impact so many of our elders who deserve to have dignity in their senior years.
I want to know, was running for re-election for 2024 for the White House a tough decision for you and President Biden? What would you say to those who are concerned about his age?
Well, I will tell you, it was a very clear decision, which is that we want to see through the work that we've already accomplished. We've made historic progress, and it's because folks stood in line, sometimes for hours to vote, and said they wanted certain things from their government, like capping the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Folks said, pay attention to our HBCUs. Now, you know I'm a proud graduate of an HBCU.
Yes.
And put more money into those incredible educational institutions. And because people voted in 2020, we have now put more than $5 billion into our HBCUs. These are the kinds of accomplishments we've made so far. We've made accomplishments so far, which is about saying we're going to get affordable access to high-speed internet for all Americans, because too many of our students, especially during the pandemic, were left out of their educational process because they simply couldn't afford or didn't have access to high-speed internet. Going forward, finishing the job, is we also intend to do what we can to bring down the cost of child care, passing common sense gun laws, having paid family leave, making permanent the extended child tax credit, and making sure that women, for their reproductive health needs, have the dignity and the resources they need. This is still the work that we have to do. So it was clear to us. And, listen, it's not going to be easy. It never is. There will be people throwing tomatoes when we're running, and I mean that, I don't mean that literally. I'm not trying to give anybody an idea, but I'm just saying,
right.
But it's worth it, Erica. It is worth it when you have the ability to serve.
Yes.
And to lift people up. I have this saying, and I say, you can, the true measure of the strength of someone is not based on who they beat down. It's based on who they lift up. I feel that so strongly. And in particular right now, we need leaders who understand the power in lifting others up. But we also need leaders who have empathy. Yeah. Scripture teaches us you have to understand and be able to walk in another's shoes. You have to be able to see the man by the side of the road and see something in their face that you recognize as being a part of you. And therefore, the responsibility you have to lift that person up, to give them aid, to give them comfort, to give them dignity.
We're talking to the Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris. Vice President Harris, thank you so much for being with us today. You mentioned earlier about going to Howard University. How often do you get a chance to go back to your alma mater?
As often as possible. In fact, I was just there a couple weeks ago. I go back. Wow. I love HU. There might
you know.
For listening who went, I know people who also went to Hampton, the other HU. And then, of course, all of those beautiful, beautiful schools that we have in the Atlanta community. And I go back as often as I can. I've probably been back there, I don't know, at least several times during my vice presidency. Wow. And just meeting with those young leaders. I'll tell you, when I go to Howard, when I go to any of our schools, at Spelman, Morehouse, at Tennessee State, when I go to these schools, I will tell you, I see these young leaders, and I know the future of our country is so bright. It is so bright. They are smart. They have optimism. They have vision. They have grit. Yes. They're prepared to get out there and work hard. And it really does give me so much inspiration. And probably that's the selfish reason that I keep going back, is to continue to be inspired by our young leaders.
That's a good reason. That is a good reason. My daughter goes to Spelman, so I'm definitely proud of our HBCUs. Yeah, we are so proud of her. Absolutely. How is the second gentleman? How is your husband, Doug?
Oh, thank you for asking. You know what? He's just wonderful. I have to tell you, I feel so blessed to have a husband who is so supportive. And, he is very straightforward. He works hard. He cares about his family. He cares about his country. And he's just really very, I don't want to say basic, because basic sounds like it's a criticism, but he's very clear about what's important, right? Yes. It's about family. It's about, he's a good person that way. And I love it. And he's very supportive of me, and he has a wonderful sense of humor. And, by the way, I love to cook. He loves to eat, so that works out, too.
I love it. Do you get a chance to cook with your schedule and all that you have to do? Do you get a chance to go to the movies and do things like that, or listen to your favorite song?
So I love to cook. I know you do, too. I love to cook. I don't get to cook as often as I used to, but Sunday family dinner is a must for me unless I'm on the road. I feel so strongly about it, and when the kids or family are around, they all come together. They can bring their friends, and so that's something I really do try to hold on to. And but it's hard. I mean, especially these days, and now we're into the re-elect, so I'll need to get on the road, because also, the first year we were in office, because it was during the height of COVID, we really couldn't travel that much. And I want to get out and see folks, and where we go, we do see such enthusiasm, but it means traveling the country and really connecting with people and listening as much as we talk. And so there's that, but all said and done, we do find time, and I think one of the things for all of us is to be really intentional about saying that we're going to put aside time for our family. Yes. And for those things that really matter the most. And so I really do try to do that.
Speaking of things that matter the most, what role has faith in God played in your life?
Oh, a fundamental role. Yeah. I think that there is no question that when you have a sense of your connection to God and to your faith, it centers you, it grounds you, it provides you with moments of clarity when everything around you seems to be in, a chaotic state. And, I was raised to also believe, your faith is a verb, and it is not just, going to church on Sunday. It's about how you live your life. It's interesting. We probably, so many of us, especially in the last few years, because of the pandemic in particular, there have been a lot of different moments that have probably challenged our faith. And I think that's when you have to really dig the deepest.
Yes.
To really reconnect with that, and then you come out of it stronger. And I know that's been my experience, and I think it's probably more universal than we realize.
Wow. Well, we are honored to talk to you today, Madam Vice President. Thank you so much for being with us here at Get Up Mornings. We are rooting for you and praying for you. Where do we go to learn more about what this administration is doing?
Go to whitehouse.gov, and it's a website, and then you could go on and put in, for example, maternal mortality and know some of that information, or if you want to find out about the what we're doing around medical debt and bringing down the cost of prescription medication, go on to find out about what we're doing with HBCUs. I haven't even begun to talk with you about what I'm doing around small businesses and making sure our small businesses have access to capital. In particular, our minority-owned small businesses, and making sure that folks know that the resources are available to them. So, whitehouse.gov.
Absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for being with us today.
It's been good to be with you. You take care. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. All right, guys, there it is there. We just had the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, in the Get Up Church. Y'all stick around. It gets better and better right here on Get Up Mornings.
You're listening to Get Up Mornings with Erica Campbell.